I wasn't expecting anyone that morning, especially not him. I was fresh out of the shower, still dripping, wrapped in nothing but a towel. And then the door opened. He didn't look away, didn't stammer, just saw me. Not like an accident, but like he'd been waiting for that moment his whole life. And the worst part? I didn't cover up. I wanted him to see me. I never planned for that day to mean anything. I wasn't expecting anyone. No one ever showed up early, especially not him. But that's what makes it stick in my mind, even now. The moment the door creaked open and I stood there, dripping wet, with nothing but a towel around me, and he walked in like he belonged there. My name is Claire. I'm 41, newly divorced, and if I'm honest, I'd stopped feeling like a woman months before that day. Most mornings I woke up numb. My ex-husband used to say I was too much in my head, and maybe I was. But I wasn't in my body, that's for sure. Not until he opened the door. I'd just turned the water off. The mirror was fogged, my skin still warm from the steam. I was patting my hair dry when I heard the knock. I didn't rush, figured it was a neighbor or maybe a package. So I stayed in my towel, pulled the door halfway open without thinking. And there he was. Tall, soaked from the drizzle. I was only thinking, why does this feel like something I'll never forget? And why does my body feel more awake now than it has in years? I should have closed the door. That would have been the decent thing. Step back, say one moment, get dressed, reappear looking proper. But I didn't. I stood there too long. Let his eyes stay on me too long. There was something in the way he looked at me, not hunger, not shame. Just stillness. Like he was taking me in without needing to possess me. Like I wasn't just a wet woman in a towel, but something else. Something whole. I felt seen. And I hated how much I liked that. He didn't leer. That's what made it worse, or maybe better. He didn't flinch, didn't smile or stammer. His gaze dropped briefly only to where the towel dipped low over my chest, then rose again, steady as ever. His composure lit something reckless inside me. I can wait in the car, he said after a moment, voice gentle. Take your time. I nodded, throat dry. Thank you. As I closed the door, I caught myself in the mirror. Damp hair clinging to my neck. Skin flushed. Lips parted. I looked different. Like someone who'd been touched, even though I hadn't been touched at all. It's strange how a moment can undo you. A stranger's eyes, quiet and black and unblinking, can see a part of you that even your husband didn't bother to look for. I wrapped the towel tighter, but my hands were shaking. In my bedroom, I moved like I was underwater. I didn't even know what to wear. I threw on jeans, a loose blouse, pulled my hair into something halfway decent. My pulse wouldn't settle. By the time I stepped outside, he was already at the car, driver's door open. He turned when he heard me. That same quiet look. He opened the back door for me. And as I slid in, I couldn't stop wondering. Did he see me? Or did he already know what I was thinking? The car smelled like leather and something faintly spicy, like cedarwood and clean skin. I don't know why I noticed that first. Maybe because my senses had been on fire ever since I opened that door. I sank into the back seat, smoothing my blouse like it mattered. It didn't. Not really. The heat in my cheeks had nothing to do with the sun. He glanced at me through the rearview mirror as he slid behind the wheel. Comfortable? He asked. I nodded. Yes. Thank you. His voice was deep but soft, careful. He was giving me room. Still, something in that rearview glance lingered, like he was watching more than just traffic. We pulled away from the curb. I hadn't even asked where we were going. My sister's brunch, right? But the silence between us felt full, like conversation wasn't necessary, or maybe too dangerous. I couldn't stop staring at the back of his neck, the way the collar of his crisp shirt framed his shoulders. Solid. Quiet power. What's your name? I asked finally, needing something to hold on to. He smiled slightly, eyes flicking back to mine. Malik. The name fit him. Smooth. Strong. Unshaken. You don't seem surprised, I added before I could stop myself. Seeing me like that. He didn't turn around, but I saw the corner of his mouth lift. I've seen people at their worst, ma'am. You weren't even close. Claire, I said quickly. Don't call me ma'am. Another glance. Longer this time. A knowing pause. All right, Claire. He said my name like he tasted it first. I turned my eyes to the window, but the heat spread down my neck, blooming slowly in my chest. The ride continued in silence, but my mind was anything but quiet. I wasn't supposed to feel anything. Not for him. Not like this. But every time our eyes met in that mirror, I felt it anyway. The rain started slow, just a soft tapping on the windshield like nature clearing its throat. But within minutes, it turned aggressive, heavy drops hammering the roof as if trying to crack it open. Malik slowed the car, eyes sharp, hands steady on the wheel. I watched him, quietly mesmerized by how unfazed he seemed, like the storm couldn't touch him. It was me who felt undone. Roads flooding up ahead, he said. You all right with pulling over? I nodded, even though my throat had tightened. Maybe it was the way his voice anchored me. Maybe I just didn't want the drive to end. He turned off onto a small service road. A gas station sat quietly under a canopy of flickering lights. We pulled in beside it, but the power was out. The rain kept falling, relentless. I'll check inside, he said, grabbing an umbrella from the seat. See if they've got coffee or anything. Before I could answer, he was out. He ran around to my side and opened my door like it was second nature. The umbrella barely covered us both. We ducked beneath it and sprinted under the gas station's awning, breathless and damp. And laughing. I hadn't laughed in weeks. Not the polite kind real, from the belly laughter. He looked at me, his lips parted, rain dripping from his jaw. And for a moment, it felt like the world had paused. You okay? He asked. I nodded, pulling his jacket tighter around me. I hadn't even noticed he'd slipped it over my shoulders. His scent, warm and woodsy, wrapped around me like a second skin. Our eyes met. He didn't step away. And neither did I. There was no need to name what was happening. It lived in the space between our breaths. And in the silent dare of that rain-soaked pause. The lights inside the station stayed off. No one around. Just us under the metal awning, the rain still coming down like it had a grudge. We sat on an old bench pressed up against the wall. His jacket was still draped over me, but it was him I felt warm from. I don't know how close we were, close enough that our knees touched. That wasn't an accident. He spoke first. I used to drive trucks. Cross-country. Before this. His voice had shifted lower, slower. Like whatever came next wasn't for everyone to hear. Why'd you stop? I asked. He didn't look at me. Lost someone. Driving didn't feel like running anymore. Felt like chasing ghosts. I didn't say I understood. But I did. That hollowed-out space inside a chest. I'd been living there too. My husband, I murmured. Well, ex said I was too cold. That I shut down when things got real. I don't know why I told him that. Maybe because I didn't feel cold right then. Not even a little. He finally looked at me. You don't seem cold, Claire. He said my name like it meant something. There was a pause. A silence so dense it hummed. I didn't realize I'd shifted closer until our shoulders brushed. His hand was resting on the bench between us, fingers curled slightly. I placed mine beside his close, but not touching. We didn't need to. The air between our skin was already crackling. I looked at him, at the way his eyes studied my face like it wasn't a thing to pass time but a place to stay. His breath slowed. So did mine. There are things people say out loud. And then there are things like this. Unspoken. Undeniable. Waiting. I don't remember moving. Not the decision. Not the space between us closing. Only the feel of his breath on my lips right before mine found his. Soft. Slower than I expected. I didn't rush it, and neither did he. He didn't grab or groan or take. He let me kiss him, like he knew I needed to be the one to start it. His lips were warm and still, and then, only when I pressed in again, he responded. His hand came up to my cheek, rough and reverent, like he was afraid I'd break if he held me too hard. I didn't pull back. I leaned into that hand like it was the first time someone had touched me like they meant it. When he pulled away, it wasn't rejection. It was restraint. Claire, he said, barely above a whisper. You sure? I searched his face. Not for approval. For truth. And I found it there, in the way he looked at me like I wasn't something to possess, but something to hold. I'm not sure of anything, I said. But I don't want to feel numb anymore. He exhaled, slow, like it hurt. And then he kissed me again. Deeper this time. Not urgent, but certain. His thumb traced the edge of my jaw, like memorizing the shape of this moment. There was no lightning strike. No dramatic gasp. Just the quiet realization that I had just let go of the woman I'd been for years. The woman who waited. Who silenced her own hunger. Who convinced herself that being untouched was the same as being safe. And in that kiss, in the way Malik held the back of my neck like I was something delicate but not fragile, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I wasn't lost. Not anymore. The world looked different in the morning. Quieter. Softer. The kind of silence that didn't press down, it held you gently, like the calm after a storm you thought might never end. I woke curled against him, my head on his chest, his arm draped loosely around me. The motel room was dim, light slipping in through the cracked curtain. We hadn't planned to stop. We hadn't planned any of it. But after hours talking in the car and kissing like we were letting go of every ache we'd carried alone, we'd ended up here, neither of us needing to say why. I watched him sleep for a moment, his face finally relaxed. I memorized the curve of his mouth, the way his lashes curled, the slow rise and fall of his breath beneath my cheek. There was peace in it. Real peace. Not the kind you perform for other people. I slipped out of bed quietly, wrapped in one of the thin blankets. My reflection in the mirror caught me off guard. I looked alive. Not glamorous, not flawless, but present. My skin had color, my eyes had something behind them again. A softness. A woman returned to herself. He stirred behind me. You okay? His voice was low, scratchy from sleep. I nodded. Yeah, I think I am. He sat up, rubbing a hand over his face. No regrets? I turned to him, and for once I didn't hesitate. No, just questions. Like what happens next? If this was just a moment, or something I wasn't ready to find. He didn't smile. He didn't promise anything. He just reached out and took my hand. I'll drive, he said simply. You decide where. And somehow, that was enough. Because for the first time in a long time, I realized I don't need to be rescued. I just needed to be seen. And, maybe, finally, I was.